what we'll see based on those patterns that we're providing is we're seeing that we found this Microsoft cluster that's been defined with these two servers in it. We're seeing the software that's running on those machines. And again, we're also seeing some dependency information from one software product to the other. So when we're talking about a webmail interface, we're also looking at the underlying web server, the Exchange server app, and so on. Now, again, this is an out-of-the-box grouping of a particular group of a particular set of machines. We can look at it from the software level. We can go all the way down to the individual processes running on those machines. And again, what we're providing is we're providing the ability to understand those critical processes that are necessary to be monitored by your operations team in order to maintain a stable Exchange environment, right? So we can look at all of the various processes and dependencies and communications between the software processes running on each of those devices. So that's really kind of what ADDM is trying to drive home. Again, other dashboards, other ways that we can tame that data, if we're looking, again, to rationalize some software that's installed in our environment, we provide these out-of-the-box dashboards that kind of break down our software by category. It also breaks it down by software end-of-life announcements, and we do monitor those announcements for all of those applications that are defined within the pattern library. Now, this over here where you see no data, in many cases, that's just there hasn't been an announcement made for that software about an end-of-life or so on. But again, you can see there's very good planning tools here. So end of life is 6 months away. I want to know what those products are. I can drill right in. I can see what those products are. Unfortunately, there's a lot of old blade Logix agents in this data. But again, we can break it down. We have the ability to quickly filter to look for exactly what we're looking for and find out what those what that software is, where we're going to find it installed, and then be able to go out and actively look at those devices and say, well, is this device part of a business service? Other dashboards that are available, again, network interface dashboards, operating system and life cycle information. Potentially, if I've got a green IT situation or a green IT initiative going on, I have the ability to go in and I could start to look for telltale signs of older or less efficient servers. And here we could see I've got a couple of servers that have, less than 1 gigahertz processor in there. That tells me a pretty good bit about their age. They're almost as old as I am. But again, I can drill into any of these. I can see the data that's associated with them. I can see what kind of machines they are. Well, there's 16 processors, but we're seeing that they're running at 400 megahertz apiece. If we drill into the device, again, some of the reference data that we're providing, we can see that this particular server itself takes an entire rack, 42 rack units. We can see the power consumption, and we can see the BTUs generated per hour. That's a significant amount of BTUs for a device that's providing us what we would consider a medium compute power, right? So this is a potential machine that we could upgrade and again, save some money on energy costs and so on. And if I need to, I can always go in and see where this particular device lives within my organization, what business services it supports, and so on. And I don't know if you can see it, you probably can't, but there's a little yellow box around this down here. Now I can zoom in on various areas of the drawing, but what we can see is that all of these applications, these servers, and so on, all roll up to this online trading application that's defined within the system. So I can have very simple service models. I can have very complex service models. I can even have service models that are related to other service models. So here's my risk assessment application for my online trading application, and it runs on these particular servers and so on. So again, a lot of information available out of the box, quickly, easily accessed. And again, you've noticed as I'm going through, I have the ability to drill through different areas and still come back to where I started from very easily just by hitting that home key. Now, Other things that we look at, again, when we're starting to build out these application definitions, is one of the things that we can never do with our automatic grouping is we can never give your application a name. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to provide a very clean, very easy interface for creating those definitions, right? So the collaborative application mapping tool, which has a built-in tutorial right here, defines how to go in and describe what it is that makes up that business application and to give it a name, right? So that we recognize it moving forward in the future. If something about the underlying infrastructure changes, we don't have to go back and change the definition of that application. We recognize that something is different, like it moved to a different host or something of that nature, but we don't break that service model. So again, we can define these various different applications. So here, if we want to look at my intranet, I can see all the devices that go into that server or into delivering my intranet service in our London facility, all of the various different softwares that are running, and so on. So again, very, very easy to define these things. And again, the visualizations, once we've defined them, they come out, they can be very robust. We can have many different views of that data. We can see, all the way down to the switch connectivity. And again, if I need to, I can always switch my perspective down to that switch just by right-clicking on it and hitting View Details. And now I can see all of the information about the switch. I can see the devices that are connected to it, what port they're connected to, and so on. And again, if I show the details, we get, very deep, rich information about the connectivity that the hosts have to those particular switches, including information like mismatches in the configuration. And again, you would never get this information from a device that's dissecting packets in order to tell you what servers are talking to what on what ports. What we're doing here is we're actually doing a deep interrogation of all these devices so that we can pull all this information together and understand, hey, somebody made a change last night. Network's not performing quite up to snuff. Why don't we go out and look for, potential issues with the network? Well, if that's something I needed to do, again, we've got that host network summary functionality, and we can come in here and we can see, various different things. So I can see any network mismatches that we found anywhere in the environment, what switch, what port, what device, so on and so forth, and what that exact mismatch is. It's happened that, people go out, they update their switches on a fairly wide basis, and one little configuration error would cause a great deal of performance issues, and we can very quickly help you drill in and find out what those issues might be, and all of the devices that need to be looked at. So again, that's just a kind of a quick example of how we can help you tame some of the data that we're capturing. And again, from my perspective, as somebody who's looking at the whole data center as without a specific focus, I'm just trying to keep track of all the various devices and things out there, the host counts over periods of time, all of that information. These dashboards are predefined, but they can be customized to meet exactly whatever needs you're looking for. So with that, what I want to do is I want to step back and I want to take a few minutes to talk about some of the new functionality that we've recently delivered in the 10.2 product. Now, one of the things I'd like to talk about, and as Matt mentioned, I've been around the computer industry for about 30 years now, and when we look at the rate of change that's taking place in the environment, how rapidly new technologies are coming out, how quickly things are shrinking down in size, and we can have more devices in our data centers than we ever could with less energy consumption and so on. Keeping up with that level of change, keeping up with all of those changes in the software, keeping up with all of those hardware, new hardware offerings and so on, it's a tremendous job. But what BMC does is we are very active in maintaining this product. There's two ways we do that. One is through what we call technology knowledge updates, which are updates to those software patterns, to the hardware recognition patterns, to the software end-of-life information. All the query patterns that we provide within the product are updated on a monthly basis, and those updates are cumulative. But we're also constantly striving to capture new pieces, new parts of information. So as part of the 10.1 release, we released storage discovery. And what that allowed us to do was it allowed us to not only discover the hosts and the internal file systems, but now we could recognize the storage that those hosts were connected to. Well, really and truly, that wasn't enough. So in later releases, what we've done is not only have we added additional storage devices that we recognize, but we've gone so far as to say these storage devices now are connected at the file system level, and we can see the file system mounts on those hosts, again, to help you develop those detailed business service models that allow us to very quickly address problems in the environment, lower our mean time to repair, quickly address, efficiently assess change, and so on. So, again, the product never stops evolving. So, one of the first issues that we wanted to tackle with the version 10 release was being able to capture large-scale data centers. So what we did was we came out with the clustering capability. In 10.1, which came out maybe about 6 months later, it could have been 9 months, in 10.1, we released the storage discovery. What we found was that about 75% of our customers told us that their storage people had no concept of the business service that their storage was supporting underneath of the host. All they knew was they had a request for a certain amount of storage to be attached to a certain host, and they configured that, and they really didn't go in and understand the business service model or the impacts or have that total understanding of how that storage supported the business. So, again, trying to pull together all of those various sources of data, we came up with the discovery service for storage, and again, we continue to enhance that with greater depth of understanding of different storage devices, but also understanding the actual file system mounts that we see on a particular server. So, again, I'm going to switch gears here real quickly, and I'm going to step aside, and maybe what we can do is go in and take a look at some of the information that we're capturing as part of that storage discovery. So, again, whether it's a NetApp device, any number of different HP and EMC devices, Dell devices, and so on, we continue to build that library, starting with, of course, the most popular storage, and then working our way down the list and providing coverage as we go.